Hey guys, and welcome to Chapter 9, The Dutch Trade. First off, before we get started, one quick thing. Chapters 8 and 9 in your notes section, in your little packet that you have, go together. Last time we did Chapters 7 and 8 together on one assignment. Today it'll be just Chapter 9, and we'll finish the notes, and I will get those posted for you in order to take pictures. Sorry, not to take pictures, to complete your notes, okay? So the big question today is, how did the death of the king affect the spice trades? All right, control of the spice trade. For many years, the Portuguese controlled the spice trade from the Cape of Good Hope to most of the distant shores of the Indian Ocean. They had settlements up and down the African coast and a main trade center in Goa on the west coast of India. Spain was growing wealthy by mining the gold that had been discovered in the Americas. It did not become especially interested in the spice trade until the death of a particular king. In 1580, King Henry of Portugal died. His death changed the history of the spice trade. The king's death could create political unrest when it was unclear who should succeed him. That's what happened in Portugal. Henry had no adult son to take over the throne. 7 different people presented themselves as having the right to be the next king of Portugal. One of them was King Philip II of Spain. Philip was related to Henry on his mother's side. After some conflict, Portugal and Spain were brought together under the rule of the Spanish King Philip II. So here's a photo of King Philip. At first, there was little effect on the spice trade. The Spanish Navy was the most powerful in the world. It could protect Portuguese ships sailing to Asia. Only now a good part of the profits went to the King of Spain. In 1588, the defeat of the Spanish Armada tipped the balance of the sea power in the world. The defeat crippled Spain as a sea power. At this time, Spain was at war with the Dutch. As Spanish power declined, the Dutch saw an opportunity for their country, the Netherlands, and to take control of the spice trade. So remember last time we talked, or it was 2 times, in Chapter 7, we talked about how the Spanish Armada sent a bunch of ships to England because they were tired of the pirates that worked for England, and they were defeated by England. England won, okay? The Dutch was excellent sailors and merchants, and they had developing interests in the spice trade. A Dutch seaman named, let's hope I say this, Jan van Schoten played an important role. As a sailor, I'm just going to call him Lynn, okay? As a sailor, Lynn spent his life looking for a northeastern route to the Spice Islands, a route that did not exist. When he stopped exploring, Lynn worked in India, keeping long and detailed notes about the Eastern traders he worked with. The information he gathered was a great help to the Dutch as they entered the spice trade. The Dutch set up their main trade centers on the island of Java in present-day Indonesia. They named the community Batavia, today is called Jakarta, and the capital city of Indonesia. It was far away from the Portuguese on the African coast, but close to the nutmeg, mace, and cloves found in the Spice Islands. In the early 1600s, the Dutch merchants formed a joint stock company called the Dutch East India Company. The company received a charter from the government, giving it a monopoly on all trades stretching east to the Cape of Good Hope in Africa to the Strait of Magellan in South America. Dutch power and control of the spice trades grew. All right, so a charter. So a charter is a document issued by an authority giving a group certain rights, okay? So they gave them the certain rights to be able to sell to the Cape of Good Hope and also to South America to the Strait of Magellan. Because the Netherlands is a very small country without many resources of its own, the Dutch did not have many goods to trade from their home ports. Instead, they traveled throughout the east, gathering up goods to trade. Dutch ships called at ports all over Africa, India, and other Asian countries. They voyaged into the Persian Gulf and all the way to Japan. They traded silver from one place for cloth or tea from another. The trades were set up so that in the end, spices end up in the hands of the Dutch for transport to Europe. The Dutch worked hard to control the amount of spices available in Europe. For example, if there was too much of one spice available, they would destroy supplies of it to prevent the price of the spice from falling. Since the trading centers at Java was so far away from the Netherlands, the Dutch India Company got permission to set up government of its own. Company leaders had their own army, minted their own money, and created their own laws to keep everyone in line. Here's just a picture of the Dutch development, a trade empire that stretches from Europe across Asia to Japan. Okay, so this is just one of their little setups. The stopover colony. Traveling from Java to the Netherlands took a very long time. The Dutch needed to rest and stop along the way. They found a location for just such a stop, largely by accident. A stored damaged Dutch ships managing to limp to the Table Bay on the southern tip of Africa, where it sank. The surviving sailors found that the Table Bay had everything needed for a supply station, including a good harbor and a fair climate. In 1657, the Dutch found the colony of Cape Town there. The colony soon became a major settlement. Over the years, many Dutch explorers set out across the Pacific to find new trade centers. Sailing from southeast Java, Dirk Hartog came upon Australia. In 1643, Abel Tasman landed on the island, now named Tasmania, off Australia's southeastern coast. By sailing around Australia, Tasman proved that it was a huge island unconnected to any other land. For 200 years throughout the 1600s and 1700s, the Dutch profited from the spice trade in Asia. Henry Hudson. As you have learned, countries involved in the spice trade were eager to find a quicker way to reach Asia from northern Europe. In 1609, the Dutch East India Company hired an English explorer named Henry Hudson. Hudson wanted to be an explorer who found the Northwest Passage that everyone was seeking. Hudson took a small crew on a small ship called the Half Moon. He sailed north following the coast of Norway. The further north the Half Moon traveled, the colder and icier it got. The crew began to grumble. Conditions on the ship went from bad to worse. Hudson had planned to find a passage that would take him over the North Pole and down to the Malay Archipelago. Instead, he changed his mind and headed west. Remember, an archipelago is a chain of islands. What is an archipelago? Get ready. Chain of islands. Yes, chain of islands. All right, keep going. Hudson created the Half Moon course down the Atlantic coast on North America to find the Northwest Passage. At the mouth of what is now the Hudson River, he claimed the land is Neverland for the Netherlands. For the first few days that the Half Moon sailed up the Hudson River, Hudson must have felt great excitement. The river was wide and deep, with steep sides and strong current. Surely this was the passage through the continent. Hudson sailed up the river to the site of present-day Albany, New York. But when the river grew shallow, it became clear that it would not lead to the Pacific Ocean. Hudson returned to Europe. The next year, Hudson returned to North America, this time on an English ship, the Discovery. Hudson was sure that he would have to sail north to find the Northwest Passage. He discovered a huge inland sea, which he mistook for the Pacific Ocean. Today, that Canadian body of water is called the Hudson Bay. So he found the Hudson Bay, okay? Hudson and his men quickly realized they were in an inland sea. Winter came rapidly, the ship got stuck in ice, and food ran low. The crew grew angry and mutinied. Hudson and his son and some loyal sailors were forced off the ship and onto a small boat. They were never heard from again. Sailors on the Discovery made it back to England. They were never punished for their mutiny. So, here's a picture. You can see Hudson and his son and some loyal sailors or noblemen with him on a little ship, and they're heading to the coast, but they're never heard from again, okay? So we don't know what happened to them in the end. Dutch merchants were eager to make money from the land claimed by Hudson. In 1614, a group of these merchants formed a joint stock company called the New Netherland Company. The company's first activity was fur trading. A trading post was built at Fort Orange, today Albany, New York, far up the river explored by Hudson. The fur trading went well and merchants prospered. But the company was unsuccessful in getting colonists to this new land. Most people in the Netherlands, a small country, were reluctant to leave their homeland to live in a distant wilderness. How would you feel? Would you want to go live in a distant place that no one knew really anything about? You don't know who lives there. You don't know what kind of animals there are. You don't know what kind of food there's going to be to eat. Okay? How would you feel? Would you want to do it? Eventually, a new company called the Dutch West India Company took over. In 1626, Peter Minuit, the head of the Dutch West India Company, came to the island of Manhattan and acquired the land from the Native Americans. Today, the island of Manhattan is the heart of New York City. On the southern tip of Manhattan, the Dutch built a town they called New Amsterdam. The town grew, but slowly. The Dutch government didn't think New Amsterdam was worth the high cost of defending it. In 1664, an English warship sailed into New York Harbor and took over the colony. The English renamed the colony New York in honor of the Duke of York. The Dutch effort to colonize North America was over. So here's a picture. You can see some ships. They're heading towards the colony right here, and they are going to take it over. And that is it for this chapter. It was super short. Make sure you finish your notes. There will not be any questions, but make sure you finish your notes. Okay, and I'll post a picture of what your notes should look like and what your review questions should look like. All right, have a great rest of your day.